does art bring to therapy? There are, of course, many ways in which art is used in therapy and many models that apply the art-making process or the creativity in different ways. In all of those models, however, there are some fundamental principles, I guess, in relation to what the art actually brings. I've mentioned in one of my previous videos that words are only symbols for our experience, and sometimes they just don't have enough nuance for the experiences that we're having. And oftentimes images can represent that even better. And I can often put on a piece of paper a movement, a noise, a shape, a colour, a space, a symbol, something that represents very clearly to me what is happening for me right in this moment. And oftentimes that art will speak back to me. I will look at that and I will notice something about the lines or the space or the way in which it was constructed that in turn speaks to me about my state when I created it. And it is this intersubjective relationship, this information moving in and out with the art and myself that actually can provide such rich information. It, of course, is something that we can do for ourselves, and there are many artists who would find that their artwork is part of their maintaining of their mental health, because, in fact, the art gives them an opportunity to speak their mind. It also gives them an opportunity to have that conversation with something that truly sits and holds their experience. Of course, in art therapy, we often require a therapist to assist us to actually engage in ways that can help us to really draw out what we need. If we look at a Freudian model of therapy, we can consider that oftentimes the reason that we have challenges or problems in our lives is because of these defences that present, that we will often not see or refuse to look at those things that would actually make change, effective change in our life, often because change is difficult and what is familiar is often perceived as less troublesome than actually trying to do something new. But if we consider that we are full of many defences, then potentially what is happening when somebody comes to therapy is even using their own art to process and reflect what's happening for them, potentially comes up with defence mechanisms. And so as a therapist, it's important for us to understand how to use the art, not just in this way of providing communication and expression of what's happening and that back and forwards communication, but also to assist the client to then look beyond what they see on the surface, to ask questions that actually help open up new information from the art, that help move behind their defences. Often that will happen when we make the art unknown, something I've also spoken about in another video. Sometimes this happens when we create an entire story, a fantasy, that allows gaps within that story to have to be filled some way. And as this acts as a metaphor and those gaps are filled with more metaphoric information, the client is running that parallel story through their own experience and wondering, I wonder what that would mean if the whale actually had a volcano on its back instead. Maybe that is about me learning that those explosions aren't about lovely cooling water and just venting, but actually that they're harmful in some way. So this might be new information for a client that comes because we've managed to introduce a metaphor that has arisen because of the engagement with the art. So the art gives us many ways to express and reflect on our current state of being, to actually allow ourselves to create ourselves on the page, but also with a skilled therapist to start to tease out some elements that actually make it behind defences and allow a person to make some lasting change in their life that they did not have the resources to do for themselves prior to this interaction.